crap. Okay, welcome to the start of a new anime review series, Seirei Chronicles. Anime review, episode number 1. Yeah, I call it that particular because the full name is a bit difficult to pronounce. It's Seirei Gensouki Seirei Chronicles. We're here discussing the first 2 episode series. The series itself is made by TMS Entertainment, which is the 3rd ever anime I have ever watched of theirs. The first one being a series that's still reviewed to this very day. After 5 years, I still review it. Case closed. The second series being Lupin the Third, Part 1. And this being the 3rd series, which is awesome. Now, I initially, prior to watching these 2 episodes, and as of today, I've read the first 6 out of 26 volumes of the series. And also, is the first ones, this is one of those few times where I come across a light novel series where the volumes got a subtitle with them. This happened with the Aztec War, Arya Scar and Ammo. I'm very happy with this. So, the episode starts off with a flashback where we have Haruto, where he has to leave his childhood friend behind because his parents are divorcing. He'll explain the episode, explain the next episode. They're divorcing, and when he sees her years later, he doesn't know how to interact with her. So then he goes to college, rides a bus, and the bus apparently doesn't brake properly. So then he proceeds to hit by a freaking train, killing him and 2 young girls. He could have, I don't know, found a way to toss them to safety. He didn't do that, so they both died. So then we see him wake up as Ryu. By the way, this character has no last name, which I find that to be interesting. Because normally put, whenever these characters are reincarnated, usually given a last name. Ryu is never given a last name. Never. The entire series. As of 6 books, he does not have a last name at all. Which I find that interesting. Which makes him the first isekai character to have no last name. Just called Ryu. They do explain he's an orphan because his mother, who's got black hair like he does, they explain this in their flashback, where he's got black hair. Apparently his grandparents got black hair. His father didn't. Who his father was, don't know. His mother died at some point and he wants to avenge her death. Same with some guys, and of course, basically, he's asked to go out and bathe because he stinks. And then he comes across 5 girls. Basically 4 young girl ones and 1 tall one. And they're asking if they've seen like a young girl with the purple hair. She is somebody really important. And they just want to use a particular magical power. And discover he's got magical power, which he didn't know. And then he goes back to what looks something like a warehouse he was staying in. And then we have a guy who apparently massacres the whole group for reasons not explained here. They do explain next episode that the guy who did this apparently worked for some particular noble. Why they did this for is not explained at this point. So he ends up fighting off the guy thanks to his martial arts he knows, and using magic in contact with a spirit. Who the spirit is, they don't know. And then after the person's defeat, he opens a bag that was, brought in by the guys. And turns out this actually is basically the pink hair girl that was asked by earlier about the girls. And then of course she asked to bring her to her assist, like just basically bring her home. Which of course then he runs them again, and of course the older sister basically accused him. At one point he nearly hurts her wrist again, basically to allow him to explain himself. So then, of course, the tall girl brings out a freaking sword and tells him to stop, heal the wound, and eventually then he's brought before the guards to be interrogated, which then they proceed to torture him. Yes, the vice captain, who apparently was one of the princess's guards. By the way, the 2 princesses, their name here, this is Flora and Christina. Both, I kid you not, have got the same English dub actress. Who is it? Melanie Morris. Yep. I love her voice acting. I'm like just 4 years older than she is. Aside from this series, she's also, I've seen her in Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, How Not the Same Demon Lord she voices Clem, Viola, Cautious Hero as a Rose Guard, Plunderer. She's the main character from Mashuka Ten's The Jumps to Incarnation. How Realistic Became. She's voiced of Carla Vargas. She's the cousin of Juvia from that series. She's Nagisa from Girlfriend. And currently, you can hear her as the voice of Vegapunk Lilith from One Piece, which I haven't heard of. I've listened to a little bit of her voice. She is awesome as Lilith. Like, I love her voice as Lilith. And then, of course, the tall girl frees him. Is like, what are you doing? You're supposed to interrogate, not torture him. And then, of course, he's freed. Despite the fact he was telling the truth. And, of course, she heals his wounds. She has introduced herself as Celia Claire, voiced by Melanie Dorr. By the way, Ryu was voiced by Kara Regan. The young version was voiced by Phone Kanisa. So, basically, like, he's been summoned to see the king to thank him for saving his daughter. He's like, okay. Say, Celia, can you teach me how to basically proper etiquette to act in front of a king? And she's like, sure, no problem. And, of course, then we see him the next day where he's cleaned up, wearing a nice uniform, and presents himself like a proper gentleman. And we see a flashback, him as a reward for saving his daughter, he gets to enroll in the Royal Primary School. A school whose students are nobles and royals. And all but like a few of them are complete dicks to him because he's basically poor. Yep, which I have seen this before in another anime I've watched. That being an anime I really, really enjoyed. I kind of wish was season 2 of The Aristocrats Outworldly Adventure. Where there was this young beast girl who was a friend of his who enrolled there. Excuse me. And like she basically was being bullied for being poor. Well, basically not being noble. And of course, well, the main character stood up for her, along with his 2 fiancés, because basically, well, she's basically a close friend of his, and, well, she's in love with him. Yep. But in the case, this one, basically, like, he's enrolled, he's Celia's teacher, who's apparently, like, a couple years older than he is, because I think he's supposed to be 10, and she's, like, 12. So, and then they sort of this special friendship they have, where over the course of 5 years, where apparently he's developed better tea, they explain in the next episode, where she is basically, actually next episode they're going to the academy, so, and he starts staying in school there, like, being friends, and of course he just hangs out with her, cleans up her office, makes good tea. There's also talk of her getting potentially getting married, and also there is this competition that is basically students versus the knights. And of course, Rio is chosen, despite the fact that they do have the sword, and they have the sword practice, where Rio is actually surprisingly really good at swordsmanship. Like, the instructor was very surprised at his stance, using the 2 hands thing, because he basically knew Kendo. He was very surprised, and of course, call a match. And then of course they have a competition where he's like the first one. Like, of course, the air students think that he might be ashamed of school, which he doesn't. He proceeds to fight the guard who actually tortured him 5 years before, like, who's been demoted from vice captain, and surprisingly beats him. Yeah, the students are shocked the fact that the only people who actually support him are his teacher and his sword instructor. No one else supports. Everyone's shocked the fact that a 15-year-old beat a guard in basically like a mock battle. Like, they are shocked at it, and apparently all the rest of the students participated in this all lost, and he's like the only one who won. And of course, we organize our books. He constantly hangs out with her, and apparently he's not exactly. He basically is tutored with her. The episode ends quite interestingly, where he is walking to the side of the building. There's this young girl gives him a note. I'm like, oh, is this girl going to confess it, or basically have a love letter for him? Apparently he's being summoned someplace else, which is interesting because normally anime I've seen where a guy meets a girl behind a building and usually give him a love letter proclaiming their love, and no one there's, or basically that the girl is telling him about this, that tells him in person that she's in love with him. That's usually the common thing here, but this one just give him a letter, basically just, well, he's like, what? And of course Celia sees this, and that's the episode ends. I gotta admit, basically, like, the first episodes are really good, and there's only 12 episodes left to go. But before this video today, I am going to explain something about this. So, I was planning on doing like another anime about this and head back to watching my Mill Hero series Spellbound. But it's been almost 3 weeks since it's been over 2 weeks since I went on break from it. I need to head back to really soon before I fall. I don't want to be behind. I want to be like on a 2-month break. So, basically the plan right now is this. Once I finish up this first season, that's when I head back to the show. Head back to that show, finish up. Excuse me, on my next break, I'll work on 2 straight anime. That being The Stronger Magician and Demon Army Was a Human, and Go Go Lose Ranger. I'm going to do both those anime on my next break, per se. But that's pretty much a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do another like button. Well, next up is basically the most recent episode released for Demon Retry. And then pretty much after that will be My Hero Academia. Okay? Next video.